Welcome to Soul Spirit Stories, where moments of kindness, sacrifice, and unseen love remind us that humanity still exists. If you believe that small acts can create the biggest miracles, then stay with us till the very end of this story, because what you're about to hear will touch your heart and maybe even change the way you see people around you. It was one of those cold evenings in late November, when the streets were filled with rushing people, each one too busy to notice anyone else. Under the dull streetlights, a man named Ethan Miller walked slowly, holding the tiny hand of his 6-year-old daughter, Lily. Ethan wasn't just tired. He was broken inside, not because of failure, but because of how hard he was trying to hold life together. Just 2 years ago, he had a stable job, a happy family, and a wife who filled their home with laughter. But after a sudden illness took her away, everything changed. Bills piled up, rent went overdue, and raising Lily alone became the toughest thing he'd ever faced. Tonight, Ethan had only $1 left in his wallet. He had stretched every penny over the week, skipping his own meals, pretending he wasn't hungry so Lily could eat. As they walked home from the grocery store, his daughter looked up at him, her small voice shivering in the wind. "Daddy, are we going to eat dinner tonight?" Ethan forced a smile. "Of course, sweetheart. Daddy's got it all figured out." But inside, he didn't know what he was going to do. They passed by a small diner, its warm light spilling out onto the sidewalk. The smell of fresh soup and bread made his stomach twist. He hadn't eaten a full meal in days. Then, just outside the diner, they noticed a woman sitting on the ground, thin, covered in an old coat, her hands trembling as she held a cardboard sign that said, "Hungry. Please help." Lily tugged on his sleeve. "Daddy, she looks really cold." Ethan looked at the woman. She was maybe in her 40s, her eyes tired and red, her shoes worn out. Something inside him broke again. He reached into his pocket, feeling the last dollar between his fingers. It was supposed to buy Lily a small piece of bread, but now it felt heavier than gold. He crouched down to Lily's level and said softly, "Sweetheart, do you think we should help her?" Lily nodded immediately. "She looks like Mommy used to when she was sad." "We should help." Ethan took a deep breath. His eyes burned, but he didn't want Lily to see his tears. He walked into the diner, ordered a cup of hot soup and a sandwich, exactly $1 worth. When the waiter handed it to him, he turned around and walked back outside. The woman looked up in surprise as Ethan knelt beside her. "Here," he said gently. "It's not much, but it's warm." Her lips trembled. You're giving me this?" He nodded, trying to smile. "We all need a little kindness sometimes." The woman's eyes filled with tears. "Thank you," she whispered. "You have no idea how much this means to me." Lily smiled, watching her dad hand the food over. "You're a good man, Daddy." Ethan ruffled her hair. "I just hope someday, when you can, you'll help someone too." They walked away, hand in hand. Ethan didn't know what tomorrow would bring. He didn't even know how he'd feed his daughter the next day. But somehow, for the first time in a while, his heart felt light. That night, when he tucked Lily into bed, she whispered, "Daddy, I think God saw what you did today." Ethan kissed her forehead. "Maybe he did, sweetheart. Maybe he did." The next morning, Ethan woke up early. He checked his phone, a dozen missed calls from the landlord. He sighed and got ready to go out, hoping to find some day work at the local construction site. But when he got there, the manager shook his head. "Sorry, Ethan. We're full today. Maybe next week." He stood outside the site, his hands in his pockets, feeling the cold creep through his coat. He didn't even have enough for bus fare home. Then, out of nowhere, a black car pulled up beside him. The window rolled down and a voice said, "Excuse me, are you Ethan Miller?" He turned around confused. "Yes, who's asking?" A woman stepped out, dressed neatly, with kind eyes that seemed familiar. She smiled softly. "My name is Claire. You probably don't recognize me. But last night you gave me food when I was sitting outside the diner." Ethan's eyes widened. She didn't look poor at all now. Her hair was brushed, her coat clean, her face glowing with warmth. I don't understand," Ethan stammered. "You were—" She nodded, smiling. "Yes, I know. I looked like a homeless woman. But I wasn't. I'm actually the owner of that diner. I sometimes sit outside dressed like that just to see how people react. It's my way of understanding how kindness still exists in this world." Ethan stood frozen. He couldn't speak. Claire continued, "You were the only one who stopped. You didn't just give me money. You gave me food, even when you had almost nothing left. I saw your little girl watching you. You taught her something beautiful." Tears welled up in Ethan's eyes. "I just did what anyone should do." She shook her head. "No, Ethan, most people walk past. But you didn't." Then she handed him an envelope. "This is for you." Ethan hesitated, but she insisted. "Please, open it." Inside was a job offer letter for a full-time manager position at her diner, and a small note that read, "Kindness never goes unnoticed." He looked up, speechless. I don't know what to say." "Just say yes," Claire smiled. "We need people like you around. Honest, selfless, good people." Ethan blinked, unable to stop the tears. "I don't even know how to thank you." Claire smiled again. "You already did. You thanked me when you shared your last dollar." That evening, when Ethan returned home, Lily ran up to him. "Daddy, did you find work?" He picked her up, laughing through his tears. "Yes, sweetheart. Daddy found something even better than work. He found hope." They both hugged tightly, and for the first time in months, Ethan didn't feel afraid of tomorrow. Days turned into weeks, and Ethan started working at the diner. Claire treated him like family, and Lily would sometimes come after school to sit by the counter, drawing little pictures for the customers. Ethan's smile slowly returned. He'd cook meals, serve customers, and sometimes, late at night, he'd stand outside the diner and watch people pass by. Remembering the day, everything changed. One evening, he saw another homeless man sitting in the same spot where Claire once sat. He smiled softly, walked inside, packed a warm meal, and handed it over. "Here," he said. "It's not much, but it's warm." The man looked up in shock, tears filling his eyes. "Thank you, sir." "I thought nobody saw me," Ethan smiled. "Someone once told me that kindness never goes unnoticed." Weeks later, Claire called him into her office. She looked a bit emotional as she handed him another envelope. "Ethan," she said, "I've been meaning to tell you something. You've been doing incredible work here. Everyone loves you. You've brought warmth to this place in a way I never imagined." He smiled shyly. "I'm just doing my job," she shook her head. "You're doing more than that. You're reminding people what humanity feels like." He opened the envelope. It was a check for $10,000 and a note that said, "A new beginning for you and Lily." Ethan couldn't hold it in anymore. He broke down in tears. "Claire, I can't accept this." "Yes, you can," she said gently. "Because you earned it, not with money, but with heart." Months later, Ethan was able to move into a better home. Lily started school again. Their laughter filled the small apartment, echoing like music through the rooms. But Ethan never forgot that one night, the night he gave away his last dollar and received something far more valuable in return. He taught Lily that kindness is never wasted, and that no matter how hard life gets, giving from the heart is the greatest wealth of all. Years later, Lily, now a young woman, sat across from her father at breakfast. "Dad," she said with a smile, "do you remember the woman outside the diner? The one you helped that night?" He smiled. "How could I ever forget?" She looked at him with tears in her eyes. "That moment changed everything for us. I've been thinking, maybe it's time I carry that lesson forward." He looked at her curiously. "What do you mean?" She grinned. "I've been volunteering at the shelter downtown. Every Friday, we feed people who can't afford meals. And I tell them about you. About how one act of kindness saved our lives." Ethan's eyes filled with pride. "Your mom would be proud, sweetheart." Lily reached across the table and held his hand. "No, Dad, I'm proud. Because you showed me what real love looks like. The kind that doesn't count how much you give, only how much heart you put into it." And so, the circle continued. A man who once gave away his last dollar found a future full of warmth, family, and hope, all because he believed that kindness, no matter how small, is never lost. It finds its way back, in ways we can never imagine. If this story touched your heart, Share it with someone who needs to believe in good people again, because sometimes one small act can change everything. Thank you for watching Soul Spirit Stories, where every tale reminds us that humanity still breathes and love always finds a way.